Good morning. Thank you for being here, even though it's the shady side and it's a little bit chilly this morning. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to your City Hall. I'm happy to be here today. Thank you, Representative Angela Romero, for joining us as well. I know you wear many hats in this city and they're all relevant today. Thank you for being here. This morning you'll hear from myself first, followed by Edward Bennett with the Suazo Business Center, and then our three wonderful council members, Victorio Petro-Eschler, Ana Valdemoros, and Alejandro Puy, followed by a performance by one of my favorite dancers in the state, Ballet Folklórico Eck performance today. It's wonderful to be here with you. And we're here today to recognize the start of Hispanic Heritage Month and to celebrate alongside our Latino and Latina City Council members and our city staff, also our Latino business organizations, and all of you. Salt Lake City owes its vibrancy and our energy to the people who live here and the people who work here. Our city is only as welcoming, though, and as energetic as the people who call it home. And Salt Lake City is so lucky to have so many families who are investing both in our neighborhoods and in each other. Our city is strong, and we have a strong and growing Latino community with nearly 45,000 residents in Salt Lake City proper. That's almost 21%, a little more than 21% of our entire city population. That presence is felt citywide, from public art to music and food and businesses and economic pursuits of teachers, educators, community builders. And as we continue to grow as a capital city, which we know has been going for over a decade now, and it will continue from a population perspective, it is my ardent hope that these Salt Lakers will continue to not only call Salt Lake City home, but feel that connection to this broad capital city community. And I mean that about both those who have been here for generations and those who are just arriving right now through our airport, coming up through our driving corridors, and who are finding their places here to call home. Welcome, every one of you. This capital city is one where you can put down roots, where you can connect to community, and you can have your true, beautiful self live that life that you want. And we want to support you in doing that. In the past 2.5 years, Salt Lake City has embarked on a number of initiatives to try to make this an even easier reality. My office has hired an entire equity team that's focused on working closely with our communities of color and other marginalized groups to correct the way Salt Lake City has gotten inclusion wrong in the past, and to address the barriers that are still in place. We're working on a citywide language access policy that will be coming to the council, and that'll help us better ensure that our residents are able to access important city information and documents and services and processes, not just in my office, but in every public-facing department and division in Salt Lake City government. So from after-school programs to internships, apprenticeships in our city departments, Salt Lake City wants to remove barriers so all of our residents can deepen their connection to their city. I'm so grateful for our partnership with Suazo Business Center. They're an incredible partner to us as a capital city and throughout the state of Utah. They help us make events like this possible, but more importantly, they help us support the Latino business community and know how we need to evolve to do so better in the future. And with that, I'll read the proclamation and then turn the mic over to Edward Bennett, followed by our city council members. Whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month is observed September 15th through October 15th, celebrating Hispanic and Latino American people, cultures, achievements, and contributions. And whereas the observance began in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week and was then expanded into a month-long celebration and officially enacted into federal law on August 17, 1988. And whereas several Latin American countries celebrate their independence anniversaries also on September 15th, including Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Mexico and Chile celebrating their anniversaries on September 16th and September 18th, aligning the significance of the observance start date. And whereas the theme of 2022, Unidos Inclusivity for a Stronger Nation, emphasizes the need to ensure diverse voices and perspectives are welcomed and represented in decision-making processes, which helps to build stronger communities and a stronger nation. Whereas Hispanic and Latino Americans represent a significant and growing demographic of Salt Lake City, 21.2% per 2021 census estimates, and we honor the invaluable ways that their traditions, customs, and communities have enhanced our great city. And whereas we invite all communities, businesses, and employees to take part in this year's Hispanic Heritage Month events and celebrations, now therefore I, Erin Mendenhall, Mayor of Salt Lake City, proclaim September 15th through October 15th, 2022 as Hispanic Heritage Month in Salt Lake City. Edward Bennett, take it away from there.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Mendenhall, for presenting this proclamation to the citizens and residents of our city. I know it's not necessarily sexy to start a conversation by saying, in 1848, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was signed, ending the Mexican-American War. But this is a significant thing for us, because part of that treaty was that over half of Mexico was to be ceded to the United States. Prior to this war, the lands we now recognize as parts of Colorado and New Mexico, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Wyoming, all of California and Nevada, almost all of Arizona, and our entire state of Utah were all part of Mexico. Only 50 years later, in the census of 1900, 40 individuals living in Utah claimed Mexican heritage. By the next census in 1910, that number had grown to a whopping 184 individuals. The census data over the next 110 years has shown staggering growth in our state and our city in terms of our Latino and Hispanic communities. By the 1990 census, the Hispanic population reported around 4.9% of the state, and 10 years later, in the year 2000, it had grown to 9%. And as the mayor already mentioned, this year's estimates, only 20 years or so later, put the Latino and Hispanic populations at well over 21% in Salt Lake City alone. And estimates have that number at around 17 to 18% in the entire state. That's well over 500,000 people in the state of less than 4 million. And this community accounts for over 42,000 people in the city. I can't do math. So given that number of 42,000 Latinos in Salt Lake City, and before just recently, only 2 had ever served on the Salt Lake City Council. And both of them were appointed positions to fill a vacancy. Neither of them won the popular vote to retain the seats in their own rights. They served out their appointments, and that was the end of it. In 2019, just 3 years ago, an immigrant Latina from Argentina named Ana Baldemoros became the first Latina, the first female person of color to serve on this council. Again, only after being appointed to fill a vacancy. Ana became a trailblazer and a hero to Latinas across the region and joined the ranks of very, very few Latinas to have served in our government. Angela Romero's here right now representing that constituency as well. 10 months later, in November of 2019, Ana did what has never been done before. She ran for the seat she was holding and was elected to serve her constituents for a full term. Again, Ana made history in becoming the first Latina and the first Hispanic leader elected to our city council. She broke barriers and opened doors that had never been opened before. That was in November of 2019, less than 3 years ago. In 175 years of city governance, from boards to commissions to the current council we have now that's only 40 years old, there had never been a person of color elected to represent the citizens of the city. I want to pause there for a second so you can listen to that again. Hundreds of Salt Lakers having been elected to represent different sections of the city over the years, there had never been a person of color, not one racial or ethnic minority, ever elected in this capacity in 175 years. Flash forward to 2019, again just 3 years ago, and Anna became the first. 2 years later, last year, right, it's 2022, just last year, 2 of our many white city councilmen stepped down to pursue other options in their career paths, leading to what would become a revolutionary turn of events for our city. District 1 covers the largest geographic area in the city. It includes the west side neighborhoods of Rose Park, Fair Park, West Point, all the way past the airport to Jordan Meadows, and it's the home of Victoria Petro-Eschler. Victoria has been a member of Salt Lake City's District 1 community for nearly a decade and has been dedicated to the neighborhood and the city the entire time. She has served on the Salt Lake City Historic Landmark Commission, the Utahns for Culture, and the Cultural Alliance boards, all before she was even considering running for an elected position. She's a small business owner, a mother, and a rock star. In November of last year, 10 months ago, after her district's representative stepped down, the existing council took the proper steps in appointing her to serve out the remainder of that term. As had been the case a limited number of times before, a person of color had been appointed to serve on the city council. And we suddenly had 2 Latinas in positions of political power in Salt Lake City. This proverbial snowball was rolling down the hill and gaining momentum. That same month, just 10 months ago, the citizens of her district also took the proper steps necessary to ensure Victoria continued to lead, and she was elected to her first full term of service. I mentioned 2 council members stepped down last year. That last story was District 1, the next story is District 2. Alejandro Puy, like Ana, is an immigrant from Argentina. Ali's been an active member of his community, serving in various political behind-the-scenes roles for well over a decade. In 2021, a long-serving member of Salt Lake City Council stepped down to work more directly with Mayor Mendenhall. Ali recognized this as an opportunity for him to move from behind the scenes to front and center stage. He knows his district, he knows his constituents, he knows el gente. He knew he was the right choice to represent the people of District 2. That district includes Poplar Grove, Glendale, which is where the Suazo Business Center is located, and parts of the Fair Park neighborhood. In August of last year, Ali declared his candidacy and hit the streets. He walked the district, and rumor says twice the entire district, 3 times the entire district, meeting with constituents relentlessly. And it paid off. In November, after 4 rounds of voting, the district declared Alejandro the best candidate for the job of representing them in the Salt Lake City Council. Suddenly, in one November day in 2021, 3 out of 7 districts in our Salt Lake City are being represented by members of the Latino and Hispanic communities. I cannot think of a better way to recognize Hispanic Heritage Month in Salt Lake City other than by celebrating these 3 members of our city council. This meteoric and historic rise of Latinos in Salt Lake City is a feat unto itself, and I am proud to call all 3 of these civic leaders friends and folks I'm happy to introduce to all of you. Thank you for your time. Ali? No, sorry, yes.
All right, if I wasn't feeling emotional before, I certainly am now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So moments like this are really important, especially for the Latinos, because our identity is one where it's easy for us to feel invisible. Maybe our accents are too thick and it makes us hard to understand, or maybe we don't speak Spanish enough so people aren't convinced we're actually Latinos. Maybe we tan too easily, and so that puts us in a category that's easy to marginalize, or maybe we don't tan enough, and so that means that we're grasping at straws. Maybe our hair is too big, and that means that we're distracting in classrooms, or maybe it's too flat, and that means, are you really honestly Latino? It's easy to feel invisible when you're Latino. And it's easy to feel maddened by that because you're the largest ethnic minority in the state, and yet you still feel invisible. And I'm appreciative for all of our leaders and constituents, but I want to take a moment and with my remarks, see those who are even a little more invisible, which are our Latinas, the females in our community, who for my entire life have been the pillars and so often are relegated to kitchens and unseen corners doing the work that's unacknowledged. Within the past 6 years, I showed up, and I have 2 master's degrees, and went for a non-entry level job at a local nonprofit, and was in all seriousness offered $10 an hour for my work at a non-entry level job with 2 master's degrees and experience. Not only was I invisible, but my credentials often show up invisible. So to the women who are doing this, I want to start by acknowledging my women, my Manuela Garcia Zuniga, who got on a boat in Panama to make sure I could stand here today, and my Mercedes Garcia Panesi, whose cross hangs around my neck, who spoke English and Spanish without an accent, and is possibly the smartest woman I've ever met, who sat with me in kitchens and taught me to nurture. And while at the time we could only conceive me nurturing a family and kids, which is something I do so proudly, I now nurture an entire district. I now nurture policies around homelessness, around the inland port and air pollution. They gave me a superpower, and I'm so eternally thankful to them for doing that. I want to thank the leaders who paved the way for me here. The other day I mentioned that when you work as a minority, you have to understand that gates are never meant to be kept. They must be flung open. And we're so fortunate to have Latinas who have flung and repeatedly fling open gates. Senator Luz Escamilla, Representative Angela Romero, former Representative Rebecca Chavez-Hauk have done it visibly in elected office, and thank you for what you continue to do. And we even have people like Whitney, who now is doing it behind the scenes at the council office, making sure that we are continuing to fling open gates. And Ava, she's on the other side of the hallway, but we still know her power. There's nonprofit leaders, women who lead in issues like rape recovery, food security, arts and humanities, and notably Sylvia Castro at Business, who slave away tirelessly, unacknowledged, for wages lower than our counterparts, who nurture communities relentlessly. During COVID, we had a group of women who once a week would get together via Zoom. And while we did talk a little bit about the stresses, we talked about those people being left behind. We were able to disseminate accurate health information, food security information, rental relief information. We summoned our power, and in ways that were never printed up in the Trib or never given grants by any other agency, offer relief to communities most on the front lines who feel invisible, and certainly when our COVID rates were double everyone else's, had evidence to point to our invisibility. And finally, I want to end with just what happened this morning. My children attend Mary W. Jackson Elementary, which is a dual language immersion school with Spanish and English. And this morning, I stood alongside mothers who were trying to make sure their kids had enough food in their mouth before they walked in that door, straightening braids, putting backpacks on, doing tireless work, and then carrying younger ones on their shoulders back to the car as they prepared to do whatever needed to. These are people who make dimes look like dollars as their budgets do not increase while their grocery bills do. They are literal magicians who are making the next generation possible. So I want to thank the mayor, I want to thank Suazo Business Center, and I want to thank all of you for taking a moment to see us, to see the contributions, to see the power, and to stand with us for a moment and understand why a moment like this is important. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much. I'm going to be brief because what has been said, it's been amazing. And I appreciate the kind words from all of you guys already and everybody that is here. My name is Ana Valdemoros. I am the council member for District 4, where you are at today. It's been such a privilege and an honor to be serving the people of Salt Lake City, and also an honor to have gained the trust of the constituency of District 4 when they elected me to serve them as a first immigrant, as was said. I want to thank Representative Romero and former Representative Romero and all of those that served before me and that are here. Really paved the way, and I look up to you guys and hope that we can make change as well as you have, and a positive change. And obviously Sylvia Castro, also a friend that I've known for a long time, and how she's also put the Hispanic name up there in the top so that we can be here. So I appreciate that. For the people that are watching us, or for the folks that are here, especially the young ones, and like Victoria said, some of us have cleaned dishes and have cooked, but we can also be here as an elected official. We can also open that door and knock on that door and trust that it will be open, because we're beyond that. It's been an opportunity for me thanks to the mayor and other council members when they said yes to my pitch so that I could serve at that appointment in 2019. So I am super appreciative. I'm super humbled by it. And little did I know, little did we know, maybe you knew, Mayor, that 3 years later, we will be a majority minority. It's unbelievable. So I can't express how thankful I am for Victoria and Ale and all the support that they provide me at the council, and how brave they are to step in, to put their name and win an election. So congratulations for the amazing work. Congratulations for the amazing idea and perspectives. And I'm excited for the next year and maybe more years to work together. So felicidades, feliz mes de la Hispanidad. Estamos muy orgullosa de estar aquí, muy orgullosa de representar a los latinos, en especial a los 42,000 latinos que somos en Salt Lake City. Mírennos, miren quién estamos aquí sentados, hay oportunidades para todos. Sigan incluyéndose, sigan participando cívicamente. Estamos Ale, Victoria, yo, y hay más donde podemos conversar, donde podemos hablar cosas que le conciernen a los vecinos día a día, pero también para hablar sobre cómo participar más y ser elegidos, electos, y participar en la parte política de nuestra ciudad. Feliz mes. Muchísimas gracias. Lo dejo con Alejandro.
Bueno, bienvenidos a todos y gracias por acompañarnos hoy para celebrar las contribuciones que nuestra comunidad hispanoamericana ha hecho en nuestra ciudad. Welcome and all, thank you for joining us today to celebrate the contributions our Hispanic American community has made to our city. This Hispanic Heritage Month, and in all months, we should celebrate, and we celebrate the honor la comunidad that provide us so much to our city. We are not just an affordable gardening tool or an invisible force that picks our vegetables without unions or bathroom breaks, or that person that cleans our bathroom or raises our kid when we are tired. We are those that build this community from the ground up, a community that wakes up at 4 or 5 in the morning sometimes and builds this city, sometimes very literally, a dean of a university, a college professor, a judge, a scientist, a city planner, a welder, a taco maker, a city council member, a state representative. We are here, and we are here building this city. We are building it with the rhythm of cumbia and reggaeton in our veins, by the way. So much of our city's diversity comes from the Hispanic Utahns right in my neighborhood and my district. And from the citywide favorites like Ready Juana, Rico Foods, who makes delicious beans, tortillas, and salsas right here on the west side in my district. But today, while we celebrate, I want to challenge you to not only come to the west side to enjoy good Mexican food, the best Mexican food, but to go beyond. Learn more about Coach Rejon, who works here in Jordan Park and runs Heartland, a nonprofit organization that focuses on after-school programs for our kids in the West Side, and he does that without a salary. Learn more about the Suazo Business Center, who helps and empowers our community to bring that business idea to reality, and is changing generations. Learn more about the immigrant family that works 2 jobs and started and opened a new coffee shop on the corner of North Temple and 800 West. Learn more about our passion. Learn more about el poder que tenemos, the power that we have, that we bring to this community, because we are this community. I am proud today, and this month and every month, let's celebrate together the beauty of our Hispanic community and all of us. The Hispanics that are still closely connected, let's celebrate those Hispanics that are still closely connected to their home country, and those who aren't. The Hispanics who haven't yet found their way home to celebrating their culture, and those who are loud and proud. Let's together we're weaving a community together, weaving a tapestry of history. So let's challenge each other and let's celebrate. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody here.
Thank you for being here today. We love and appreciate you. And for any media, we're happy to do one-on-ones after.